Topping today's news, police provide updates into the investigations into 12-year-old Adriel and the 72-year-old woman found dead in her Ross Corner apartment. We hear from the Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, and the National Security Minister on capital punishment. 2 juveniles reported missing on Andros, arrested for stealing, and Bahama Hoops is back in town with high-level NCAA men and women's basketball. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News, and it's definitely a pleasure to have you join us. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez, during a press conference this morning, gave an update on investigations into the country's latest homicide. He spoke specifically to the death of a 72-year-old woman who died in an apartment at the corner of Ross Corner and East Street. He noted that an arrest has been made, but investigations are ongoing.
Shortly before 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, the deceased son and grandson arrived home, realizing that the deadlock to the front door that usually be off while they are out was locked. They were able to pick the deadlock, and as they entered, the bedroom is facing directly opposite the front door, and that bedroom door was open, so they were able to see directly into the room as they entered the apartment, and noticed their mother was lying in the nude on the floor, appeared to be unresponsive. They also discovered a male who was also in the nude, sitting on the bed. As a result, it was an altercation between the son and the grandson, who was able to put a good beating on this alleged suspect. They were able to alert the neighbors next door, who contacted the police. Officers responded in quick time and was able to arrest this individual, who received injuries. He was later taken to hospital and treated for his injuries. He's a 25-year-old male from that same area, Oak Alley off Market Street.
Additionally, Fernandez said in order to determine the actual cause of death, an autopsy will have to be performed.
We know now that this alleged suspect entered through a front room window, a northern front room window, to gain access to that residence. Officers did some probing in that area and was able to retrieve a video footage from a local restaurant and bar in that general area, showing the suspect just prior to the deceased arriving home. He was seen bareback, just a pants on, no shoes, in front of that establishment with other persons. It appears though he was using some drugs. That's what the video footage is telling us and showing us at this time. He is known to us. He was released from prison in March of this year for vagrancy and also stealing. He is presently assisting police with the investigation. During the examination of the deceased, we know no injuries on the deceased. No injuries was noted on the deceased. The autopsy is being done at this time, and it's very crucial to determine the cause of death.
Again, the investigations into this matter is ongoing. Meanwhile, police officials announced last week that they arrested a 32-year-old man in connection with the murder of young Adriel Moxy. The 12-year-old girl was found partially nude with a cloth wrapped around her neck in bushes off Faith Avenue near her home. While investigations remain ongoing, Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez today confirmed the cause and manner of her death.
This time, we know that the cause of death for the young child is strangulation. We can safely say that she was sexually assaulted at this time. Our investigators and CSI personnel, they have collected a number of evidence, physical evidence, and they are preparing it now, even what was taken from the suspect, alleged suspect.
Additionally, Fernando noted that the 32-year-old suspect remains in custody but has yet to be questioned due to his poor mental state.
There was an altercation with the officers. He assaulted the officers one of the officers received injuries, and he was taken to hospital and treated for his injuries. He was arrested and is presently detained at PMH. Our information is that he's a known patient from Sandlands. I just spoke to one of the doctors just before coming over. He is being released from PMH and taken to Sandlands for further evaluation. He is presently under heavy guard. Officers are watching under the 24 hours. We know that we are unable to speak to him at this time. The doctors is saying that we are unable to speak to him because of his condition at this time.
Commissioner Fernando assured the public that the Royal Bahamas Police Force will work swiftly in bringing about justice, emphasizing that the DNA results will be crucial to their investigation. As the country is still mourning the tragic loss of 12-year-old Adriel Moxy, today, Minister of Social Services Miles Laroda addressed various comments made on social media mainly, which suggests his ministry did not do enough in the case of young Adriel and her family.
Adriel was seemingly in a difficult situation, and while it is easy to judge and say what should have happened, we must realize that this tragedy is much more complex than some are portraying. This is yet another reminder that some families are in crisis and need help. Help that not may be readily available by an extended family, and help that may be limited or non-existent from the community. Adriel's situation, like so many others, is a reflection of a system that is stretched too thin and is overwhelmed. The government cannot do this alone. We need stronger, more coordinated efforts to support families in crisis.
Assistant Director of Social Services Gabrielle Romer has this bit of advice for parents when it comes to monitoring your children.
What I can say, and I will encourage parents to be more involved in your children's life. Especially, that the time has changed. It gets darker by 5:30. If your child has any extracurricular activities, be there on school campus to pick them up. Especially if you have an area where that is dimly lighted or there's no light at all. It is your responsibility to be an effective parent to ensure the safety of your child.
The department urges members of the public to reach out, especially when concerned about child abuse or possible child neglect. And finally, in this segment, today marks the start of 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls. It is part of the Zonta Club of New Providence campaign, Orange the World Unite. It coincides with the United Nations-led International Day for the ending of violence against women and girls. It also coincides with Women's Week, which began on Sunday. You're listening to JCN News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.